Hello guys, so we are in Ithaca in the park, and we wanted to do one more episode for you. We recorded one on Biden and Trump and Ukraine and Obama Gate and what to expect from elections and some other updates. You saw a cute doggy. This is our marina. It's still empty here, but the boat parking and boat launch, I don't know if you can see it, they're full. Tons and tons of boats there. See that? Well, and on top there, you can see Cornell University. I'm just gonna enlarge it. That's Cornell University there on top.
This is the Cass Park Marina.
Yeah, this is Cass Park Marina. And so we are gonna continue. We're gonna do some more interesting uh, stuff for you. We have one more topic to discuss. This is gonna be a separate episode. This is our favorite tip. Unfortunately, they spoiled it a little bit. See, the dog park is closed. We have a dog park. It's right there behind that fence in front of you. But it is closed because of coronavirus. What do you know? So all the dogs are walking here now. Some dogs are very well behaved and some are not so well behaved. And we were just recording on our favorite tip, which unfortunately they spoiled a little bit. And what I mean by that is that they put asphalt here. It used to be all natural gravel, and we walked here, very pristine, very nature, and it's still like birds singing and everything. Well, of course, the water in the lake is that way. I'm pointing at it. This is like the end of the lake, but Finger Lakes. This is CAYUGA Lake. It's going like very stretched. It's narrow and very, very stretched south to north. We're at the southern tip here.
25 miles.
Yeah, 25 miles approximately, yeah. And so they lay this asphalt here, and now a lot more people come here. And it used to be almost our private, beautiful private wildlife preserve and the very well kept secret in Ithaca, and now everybody knows about it, unfortunately. So we're heading back towards the park, and we'll try to find a nice table at the marina where to set up our camera so we could actually record something else very interesting for you, and that will be about the Earth shift, and also answering some people's question about why Doreen Virtue became a born again Christian, denounced everything about the New Age, about non-traditional spirituality or higher spirituality. And did a lot of other strange announcements and things. What is behind it? How some people cannot cope with the thinning of veils between dimensions. I actually talk about the thinning of veils between dimensions. That's one of my predictions for the Earth shift. I talk about it in webinar 12 that we just recorded. And this webinar, depending on when you're listening to this episode, should be out for you. So between the May 17th or 18th, it becomes public. It probably is already by the time you're listening to this episode. But we're recording this on May 16th while trying to walk around the park and having fun and all that good stuff. So we currently are experiencing this massive, not only Earth shift, but it's accompanied by the multidimensional shift of consciousness, shift of our perception, when the veils between dimensions that were very thick previously, when human consciousness was not high enough to perceive higher dimensional realities or other dimensional realities for that matter, because there are lower dimensional realities too. And it's a very complex situation which I need to explain in a completely different series of webinars, which I promise I will have for you soon. Maybe we will do them as workshops. But today I just want to address this one issue, and you will understand a lot more. It's not because of Doreen Virtue I'm doing this. As you see probably, I refrained from talking about this when that issue was hot and she was attacked by everybody on the New Age and non-traditional, non-religious, like non-organized religion kind of spirituality side. And she was attacked by pretty much everybody. But I refrained from saying a word about it because I did not want to join those who were attacking her, because I understand her, but at the same time, I actually need to tell you why this has happened to her. And you will see a higher dimensional explanation and multidimensional explanation, which is related to the Great Earth Shift. So in a few minutes, once we find the table, I will tell you my whole story. See you soon. So we are sitting on the marina in Ithaca, beautiful day, lots of sun. I was telling you about this thing of veils between dimensions, how it's all related to the Earth Shift and Doreen Virtue. So I'm going to briefly summarize that Doreen Virtue was called the godmother of the New Age. She started basically this oracle cards, while tarot cards were available before. The oracle card movement basically started with her, even though there were oracle cards before her. But her postulate was that tarot cards are oftentimes too negative. But tarot cards, they reflect the full reality, whole reality, with all its good and bad, positive and negative, life and death, etc. You know, there are cards that are like death card there, and tower card, very negative cards in the tarot, devil card. And she was against that, so she started creating decks that were angelic based, that were fully 100% positive. I acquired some of those decks in the very beginning, and if you hear noises, there are like some women here near the boat on the marina, and I apologize for the noise, but that's the point of the nature and park and all that. And so she was creating cars that were positive, then others started picking up after her and creating other cars that were either more positive or more balanced than the original tarot. Then original tarot got reworked, and I only showed you a lot of my decks and my readings. If any of you subscribe to my YouTube channel and listen to those and watch those, I purchased quite a few card decks because, you know, I could do calibrations. I could do clairvoyant, claircognizant predictions, as you well know. That's what I do during consultations and during when we do Patreon things and when I do my webinars and such. And I'm sure we'll have workshops. I'll teach you how to do a lot of these things for yourself at home. But I was also told by my guardian angels to also get into oracle and tarot cards, because there was another dimension, and it was not as high of a dimension that I usually went to, but it is a better bridge, yes, to the lower dimensions, to this reality. So my situation is more all-encompassing, more balanced approach to how to talk to humans, how to relate to them. So 6D, 7D, 8D, in which I oftentimes reside and do my work in, that's like too high. And tarot cards and oracle cards, they're primarily 5D, which is a lot more relatable. Well, people still primarily want my private personal consultations based on 6D and above advice. And I not only fully understand that, I love my consultations, I love all my clients, and you guys are so wonderful. Same with my webinars and with workshops and with Patreon. But I still love doing tarot and oracle cards, and that's how I learned about Doreen Virtue, who I never considered a teacher or anything. I will tell you in a separate episode or workshop pretty soon, I hope, about the teachers, like who I would consider teachers. And unfortunately, as far as teachers go, I had very few, and I always dreamed when I was young to have a real teacher, spiritual teacher, teacher who would be higher dimensional teacher. I never got any, and whoever were like teachers at school and stuff, they ended up not teaching me anything new, maybe reminding me a few things, but I was always disappointed that I could never find a real true teacher, such as Osho, for example. Then briefly I found in their own specialties, like literally 3 or 4 teachers. I'm not going to discuss them today, but very briefly. And then I outgrew them too quickly, you know. And Doreen Virtue was never what I would call my teacher, but she was a teacher to many, many people who then got disappointed when she started denouncing her spirituality beyond religion. And she always was basically into Jesus and angels. And a lot of people who were her New Age followers and participants in her very successful webinars and workshops and all these conferences that she had all over the world, and she made tons of money on those. And during those events, what she did, she promoted her cards, and also they did praxis, they certified people. And then when she started denouncing New Age and spirituality beyond religion, all that went just literally got flushed down the toilet. So these certifications people received, they could not use them anymore because she, the teacher, did not believe in her own product anymore. And I keep telling you guys that wherever she is right now, I said that in several readings where I used her cards, which I continue using because I think those are very good cards, and I deliberately stayed away from any discussion when it was all hot. So when she first started denouncing spirituality and New Age and her own work and products that she, including cars, that she previously put out, she started denouncing them and actually bashing a lot of things without even understanding what those things are. Like, for example, she was saying, be careful with feng shui. And when she described what feng shui is, you could clearly see that she does not understand it. She says, well, classic feng shui is fine, which is, by the way, what I practice, but black hat feng shui is not fine. And she goes by the name Black Hat, and that to her means something negative. Meantime, Black Hat, which I myself warned people about not to follow that system, has nothing derogatory about it. And I warn people because I know exactly what that system is about and what's missing there. And she doesn't. She says, Black Hat, that's dark magic. And it's not dark magic. Black Hat feng shui is actually based on Tibetan style feng shui. That's Tibetan monks who practice it. Their problem is not black magic. They're monks. It's Tibetan Buddhism. It's actually lighter than most Christianity. More light there, more true spirituality. Their problem is that they do not go by compass directions. In other words, and as we well know, those of us who are feng shui practitioners and feng shui masters, compass direction is the mainstay, is the paramount feature and ingredient in real feng shui. If you do not take into account a compass direction, then you will get it all wrong very quickly. It may work for you for a few months, and then it's like explosion of bad luck, literally. But she doesn't know any of this. She goes by the name Black Hat Feng Shui. So I'm gonna shift the camera so you don't continue looking at the static image. And we are sitting at the picnic table here, and there's this nice marina, and those women who were congregating there, they actually moved away, so we can just like enjoy the nice view here. And I understand people because, you know, finally we have sun. You know, guys, we had snow. Was that yesterday or 2 days ago? 2 days ago we had snow. We had these like humongous storms. Then just a week ago we also had these huge snowstorms, and that's in May in upstate New York. Welcome to upstate New York, in other words. Finally we have this beautiful, gorgeous weather.
Welcome to global warming.
Yeah, welcome to global warming. Sarcastically chimed in us, who is sunning right now like a cat. Purr. That's right. Anyway, so back to Doreen Virtue. So I started respecting her for giving the birth, practically the birth, and she was that godmother of that whole New Age movement in some ways, and that's like incorporating angels into New Age. That was her achievement too. And she was also basically the godmother of oracle cards in many ways, you know, because after her producing a number of these decks, the popularity of oracle cards shot up, and it overcame tarot cards, and even tarot cards became more humanistic, you know, more positive actually. And I showed you a lot of my collections in and various decks in my readings. Those public readings on YouTube. If you follow me on YouTube, Lada channel and Timeless Empath Readings channel, that's where I did those readings. I don't know how many of them I will do in the future, but you probably read those, saw those, and you're welcome to schedule a reading with me. Of course, the majority of you prefer my private personal consultations, and I understand that fully, because that's where I give you the highest and most encompassing view of the world, of our reality, predictions, calibrations, everything. The deepest, the best view, the most full picture view. We go where nobody has gone before, right? Into the depths and wisdom and everything. Anyway, so back to Doreen Virtue. So suddenly she started renouncing it, and it was gradual. And I watched with amazement how she turned more and more anti-New Age and pro-Christian. She said that Jesus came to her, even though she didn't ask for it. Jesus came to her and told her to go in this direction. And so she became, within several months, she renounced everything, including left those people hanging who not only bought her decks, but also bought her courses and participate in her very expensive seminars, webinars, whatnot, and where they received certifications, because the lure of those courses was not only to be in the atmosphere and next to Doreen Virtue, like rub shoulders with her. She actually went all over the world with these courses of hers, but also to get certified and become like a certified angel card reader, or certified like something about fairies, fairy specialist, or some other such stuff. Of course, a lot of that already seemed like sort of like gimmicks to me. So at that point, I stopped really following all that, but I did enjoy her cards. And then there was a backlash, huge backlash started from all these people who bought her courses, got certified, started making money as alternative spiritual or healer or whatever practitioners everywhere in the US and beyond. And suddenly she denounces her own courses. So everything goes worthless that they worked for, that they paid money for, that they hoped probably would become their profession. They started doubting their own spirituality, their own direction in life, started turning away from this. And she also very successfully sort of like subverted some people to go back into Christianity, who also were saying, when I was practicing spirituality, which was New Age spirituality, I always had doubts, I always had problems, and now I'm at peace.
But she
now
had no
that I
doubt
go to
about the money.
yeah, she had no doubt about the money. So a lot of people turned on her, and she was bashed publicly on YouTube, on blogs, on the internet, everywhere, and called names, and demands were made on her on Facebook. There was a lot of like huge waves of discontent and attacks against her and her children. There are several children in the same profession, basically, to whom it was as much of a surprise and shock when she turned, because they made money on that too. That was also their profession. And apparently there were problems in the family as well, because I remember her very brief admissions of that. And she said that she always wanted to introduce Jesus into her spiritual teachings, but her people, her followers, always objected. They agreed to angels, but not to Jesus, because Jesus is too politicized. It is something that they perceived was part of that Catholic Church that they ran away from. So a lot of people who went into spirituality, such as New Age spirituality or Wicca, they in fact rebelled against the traditional Western Church, such as primarily Catholicism, then Protestantism, of course, and some other branches like
Christianity in general.
This Reformed Church and stuff. Yeah. Not all of Christianity, but primarily Western Christianity. That was primarily what happened. Maybe a little bit of Judaism was there as well, but primarily Western Christianity, which is Catholicism primarily. And of course, there was so much of disillusionment, corruption existed in that, in the Catholic Church, all these things that surfaced in the past 20 years, plus all these Sunday schools. Some of them went to Catholic schools and remembered how strict nuns were to them. Yeah, beating, like, yeah, I heard stories beating them on their hands if they misbehaved in class with rulers. That was actually a practice in the US even relatively recently, like even 20 years ago. I actually heard about that even at that time when I first arrived. Yes, and so many of them rebelled, many of them were disillusioned, I see, but anything that comes from so much negativity, that's low calibration. By default, this is bad. So if these people wanted to find solace in New Age or Wicca, well, they misfired right there from the start. And of course, Doreen Virtue, when she returned back to Christianity, calling herself born-again Christian, what she expected was what people follow her, like they followed her when she was the godmother of New Age. Instead, a lot of people rebelled against her and started bashing her. And I don't know if you noticed, but I deliberately, very pointedly stayed away from this discussion all the time that she was bashed. Now nobody talks about it anymore. Everybody already is past that, and most people just like struck her out of their lives. A lot of people burned her cards. And I said back then, and I'm saying again, that guys, she produced them, and that's now part of the Akashic records. That's part of the universe. She could move along and do whatever she wants. She can denounce it. She's a different person. Basically her cards, her whatever she did, like a few books that she did. She's more famous for cards and her different certifications and talks than for her books, which I personally have never even read or seen. But some people bought those books, I understand. Basically, whatever she produced back then, she was a different person than she is now. And now I want to explain to you how this is all related to the thinning veils between dimensions and Earth shift. See, what happens during the Earth shift, it's very important to understand, is the absolutely massive thinning of veils between dimensions. This has been going on since New Age was born. In reality, that was actually the beginning of that thinning of veils. Some higher dimensional souls came in to usher in the New Age, what is called today the New Age, and then it became a label that everybody started slapping on everything. And that's not what New Age was meant to be, but that's a separate discussion. And so at the time, higher dimensional souls, angelic souls, teachers to humanity came in to help usher in the New Age. And then it became so commercialized that it started denying itself. And so all kinds of people, including very negative people and locally braided people, made their way into that. And with that, a lot of dark forces started coming in as the more we were opening up to the New Age, to the new dimensions. So the more people perceive different dimensions, the more of the opening up occurs. It's like this, I don't know if you can see my hands, like this, opening up more and more, like a flower, more and more and more. And that's how it opens up. And the more of us create these portals between dimensions, the more can start coming in. But then first the light came in because that was the idea. And then the dark started coming in. Dark forces, you can use the same portals. Okay? Dark energy can use the same exact portals as the light energy, and once they caught on, they started using it, and that's what she started perceiving. So she's an empath. I am an empath too, so I understand how she felt, and I also oftentimes have to protect myself with all my might against dark energy. And for me, the dark energy, I'm a much bigger a more developed empath than she is, more higher dimensional empath than she actually is. Although she's a pretty significant empath as well. But she's about level 63 and I'm 92, okay? Level 92. And there are like literally a few people in the world, if any, right now living today who are on this level. So what happened to her, she got scared, she got overwhelmed because she did that. I've been protecting myself very seriously. She knows how to protect herself too. She's very experienced, but not sufficient not enough for this era. And because I knew about the great rebalancing, about the Earth shift and multidimensional shift, I was ready to protect myself more. And even I had to do, I don't know if you remember, last year I wrote and I spoke about it. I had this like literally, actually it was 2 years ago, I had to really ramp up my protection and my spacesuit, my energetic spacesuit, as I would call it, and some other advanced people would call it. I had to like completely redo it because it had punctures, it had like huge amounts of breaches and tears, right, that occurred after I did my first webinars, the first webinar series, because dark forces tried to penetrate it, and I had to do massive amount of work. And some of that work, which was cleansing, which was repairing, which was like setting my balance, etc., has helped me with some of that work, that some embedding of some dark forces. And incidentally, some of those dark forces, they work through humans. They work through humans. Like, for example, in the geopolitical arena, some of the followers I had at the time, I literally had to shed them. I had to like release them and get them out of my existence, and actually sacrifice the base of the following I had at the time, so that I would have fewer followers, but that I could trust those followers. So that was done on purpose, even though it was painful, but I went along with that. And I felt better and better when I repaired everything, my energy space suit, this multidimensional suit that protects against dark forces in different dimensions. When I repaired everything, like tears and energy field reinforced, etc., and when I got rid of those negative people, and they were everywhere, actually it took me a while to get rid of them. It was painful in terms of, it's painful when people leave you, but at the same time I was fully cognizant that for my own health and well-being, it was absolutely necessary, that I'm better off with a smaller base of people who are on the same page with me, like you guys, and those who understand where I'm coming from and where all this is heading, and whose energy is positive, who actually create a positive field of energy, not a negative field of energy around me, who are not like angry people or people who are in fear or grief or whatever, who are, and there are plenty of those from 2012 to 2017 approximately, and only then I took care of it. So Doreen Virtue, meantime, to my great surprise, was unable to take care of that. So when dark forces started penetrating her energy field and speaking through her, she was complaining that dark forces are trying to use her as a portal into this dimension. When that started happening and she in panic tried to close it down, she basically screwed up a lot of things. And then she decided to just cut the cord with, because she started blaming New Age. Like Luddites who were destroying machines, remember that 19th century, instead of blaming capitalists who were abusing them as workers and overworking them and giving them no rights in 19th century. Luddites was it 18th century, I don't remember. So the I think 19th, this movement in the in Britain, when they blamed machines, the workers, for their bad life and work conditions, instead of seeing that people were behind it. Same with Doreen Virtue. She started blaming New Age for her problems and renounced New Age. And this is the whole story, because she is actually the person of light. She always insisted that she didn't want negative tarot cards in her deck, only positive tarot cards, because before she created her oracle decks, which were angelic based and fully positive, she used tarot cards. She said, I was doing readings because she initially was basically a counselor. She has psychology degree, like PhD in psychology, and she was doing counseling. And as part of counseling, she was doing card readings. And only tarot cards existed at the time. So because she didn't like those negative tarot cards, she threw them out of the deck and only used positive cards in the tarot deck. Only later she created her own oracle cards that were fully positive based. So see, that actually tells you that she always wanted to be one-sided. See, me, I am balanced. You know, I am the person of light, I'm the teacher of light, but at the same time, I do not close my eyes like those three monkeys. Don't hear, don't speak, don't see. Yeah, Paulina. Yeah, and she only wants to see one side, and I give you full picture, but I do not dwell and focus on the negative. I give you full picture, and then we go to positive solutions. Yes.
It's actually a very limited version of New Age, because New Age is supposed to be a trigger for awakening and expanding consciousness, which means that polarity-wise, you need to take the good with the bad. You have to see the whole picture. And
right.
The problem with her is if you just throw out all the negative aspects of reality and just focus on positive, that's very skewed. It's not actually reality.
That is true.
Because in 3D reality, the whole point is to
experience polarities,
right, and how you
yin and yang,
and how you handle it, and how you grow and mature through adversity, which is actually Christian, by the way. Very Christian.
Yeah. Well, I want to remind you again, guys, that we are talking at length in webinar 12 that got released on the 17th, 18th. I'm talking at length about yin yang, actually, and in previous webinars, in webinar 4, there was a discussion in the other webinars previously, and we will have special courses and probably workshops in the future where I will explain all this multidimensional reality and all that. Really, we will get down and dirty and like really experience all that. You know, it will be live. It will be great, guys. So she refuses to see, always refused to see that other side, not because she did not have to see it because to revel in it, to kind of like, you know, glamorize it. No, the point is to see the full picture of the world, to admit that that's how the world is. And she always refused that. And finally, there was this final straw that broke the camel's back. She said that negative forces tried to use her as a portal, dark forces. And that's when she denounced basically New Age. That's what happened.
So she's closing those portals, in other words.
Well, because she was unable, which surprised me surprised me tremendously, that a person of her stature was unable to work with all these forces and see and figure out how, without sacrificing her everything she did before,
but that makes
how
sense.
to close that.
But that makes sense because she's too lopsided towards light.
She's
she
well, what she thinks
dark.
is light, but if you only see one side, by definition, you are digressing instead of progressing. You're digressing. So basically, the last thing that I heard from her was that she said that, you know, Earth is very harsh reality. I don't want to come back here. I don't want to spend the rest of my days basically rehashing this. And that's why I'm going directly to the source, and source is God and Jesus. That's where I'm going, because I don't want to deal with this reality anymore, because I'm not coming back to Earth. I'm not reincarnating, in other words, right? And a lot of people would, in their older years, they would want to do something that would be more eternal. But everybody decides what that is differently. So in her case, she was blessed through her entire life with a lot of followers, tons of money, a lot of fame, a lot of fortune. See, that became old. That. And some people actually implied that she was not, she was feeling sorry and guilty that she raked so much dough. And that's why she turned Christian and suddenly gave up all this money to sort of repent. Yeah, but I do not believe that. No, that's not the reason. The reason is that's the legitimate, this explanation I just gave, that's what she was actually thinking, that going directly to what she perceives as God, which is a Christian God. Actually denying everything else around her, basically, because that's a very limited view. She says, I know that this is how I stay in peace, and that's how I am closest to God.
Isn't it a form of avoidance? She's avoiding.
Avoidance, this is, that was I said, like those three monkeys, no, don't hear, don't see, don't speak, evil, right?
Right. Yeah.
But in this case, it's like don't see half of the reality. So this actually is inherent weakness in her, inherent weakness. And ever since she started going in that direction, her calibration was going down, down, down. And now she has a following on YouTube. She basically closed down the channel and everything she had before. She deleted all her previous New Age and card reading videos. And now she's doing this Christian videos, interviewing various very Christian people and talking about God and reading from scriptures, whatnot. I don't know. I looked once. I don't know exactly what she's doing. I looked once, and that was my impression from that one look at her channel, because I was curious. That was a while back, maybe like 6 months ago and longer. I do understand her turning more and more against Christianity. I mean, New Age. That is because she was attacked like terribly. At first, she wanted to be a bridge between Christianity and New Age. She actually voiced that. She said it point blank. At first, I wanted to be a bridge, but it didn't work out this way. I fully was in her corner when she wanted to be the bridge between Christianity and organized religion and New Age, and kind of like unite them, because you know me, guys, right? Uniting everybody, that's my thing, right? But she says, oh, it didn't work out this way. The thing is that it didn't work out because she was attacked by a lot of people, and they were so terrible and negative to her. That's why I did not even want to touch this issue at the time. And I'm only telling you guys because some of you asked me this question. A lot of you were curious about it. And I just want to share this. And another thing that is very important to point out, see, a lot of us are on the growth path. When we are growing our spirituality, we're expanding our consciousness, when we are growing to the next multidimensional level, and she's sort of digressing. And the final thought I will leave you with is that in her case, whenever somebody says point blank, oh, I'm not coming back to planet Earth, this is so harsh of an existence, she just created karma for herself. When she had minimal karma, when she did so much good, she just created a huge piece of karma, and she guarantees her reincarnation on this planet.
Wasn't she the one who says, what you resist persists?
No, that's not her. That's Steele. Okay, and not just Steele. I'm sure that she took it from somebody else, and I'm not sure from whom exactly. But there are some New Age teachers, and everybody, listen, guys, everybody has their ups and downs. You know, we all live in this very harsh, from that perspective, I agree with her, reality. I also, being an empath, like her, as I said, that I'm 92nd degree empath, she's about 63 degree empath, which is still pretty high up and very rare. And she could have been very impacted by that. And because she's exposed to hundreds of thousands of people and a lot more, she was exposed. So she was unable to limit it any other way, that exposure, rather than to deny everything and everybody and bash everybody.
Right. It's a conflict of interest because there's fame and fortune involved, and she has to
a lot of
uphold
things,
that image, you know. This godmother of
there
New Age
was there was a lot
heavy
of conflict of
responsibility.
interest. I agree with you, because she was still she was already denouncing it, and she was still making money off of her cards and books.
She
And
was sitting on 2 chairs. At one
well,
point.
then she said, I am denouncing my work and my cards and books too. And that has nothing to do with her anymore. Now they are republished under her co-author, Redley Valentine, who is a guy, by the way. Guys, if you see that, Redley Valentine is a guy. He's a very nice gay guy, you know, very sweet. Was her co-author, and now he gets royalties from that, or royalties that are still, if her cards are still sold, or books, then she says that they go straight to Christian charity. And that's fine, you know, and it's like really, really funny, all this. But you see what I'm telling you? She guarantees her reincarnation in this reality or in some other reality where she will have to learn her karma the hard way, harder way. So instead of making peace with all the manifestation of this reality or in any other reality or dimension, there's good and bad positive and negative, life and death in any dimension, guys. Whatever dimension you exist in. You know, I want to leave you with these thoughts. And this is very educational, as well as you see, I'm doing it with a lot of humanity and compassion here. I do not recommend there anymore, but what I do recommend is that we all meditate on this. If you have any questions, ask me under this, and maybe I'll continue these discussions. And I also hope to do more workshops. And as I said, my webinars, even though they are geopolitically or shift oriented, talk about COVID-19, I inject in them a lot of higher dimensional ideas, thoughts, revelations, and predictions. Well, energy, to shorten it to one word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, she's a great case study, and we can still learn from her through her example. From
Doreen Virtue?
Yeah, because of her life, you know.
Well, this is why I'm sharing it with you guys. You know, I could talk more about this because there are more intricate points there, but maybe I will inject parts of these and continue talking about it in future, either webinars or workshops or some other talks. So if you want to continue following this, and if you also enjoy this format, give it a big thumbs up, and maybe Oz and I can do when we go for walks to this fabulous Cos Park in the marina. And when we go to other nice places, we will sit down and do talks for you. Anything else you want to add to this? Other than that, thank you very much for joining us. And from Ithaca, upstate New York,
signing out.
Sunny day. This is Saturday, May 16th, 2020, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Blessings to you. Have a terrific week. Remember to check out my webinars. Hello friends, Lada here. I created a new series of 4 Earthshift webinars to help you navigate these turbulent and fast-changing times, and I want to tell you about them. The name of this new series is COVID-19 Catalyst and 2020-2026 Predictions. As a result of the Earth shift and its catalyst COVID-19, much will be reworked and rethought in our world in the next few years. This series is important if you want to understand what and why is happening worldwide and in your backyard, if you want to orient yourself with ease as to the present and future, if you want to not just survive but thrive in our fast-shifting world. Each webinar has its own focus and a set of topics, each builds on the previous. I recommend you buy the full series in order to get the complete picture. The webinars are live videos of Lada. Each consists of main video talk and a Q&A. Some may have additional written and video bonuses. Webinars are priced very affordably, and despite the relative shortness of this series, it is rich in revelations and breakthrough ideas and predictions. You know me. First in series, webinar 11, Democrats and Project CHIMERICA, who created COVID-19, was released on April 30th. We delve into a possible global conspiracy and the facts pointing at 2 or more countries' collusion. We look into the trail pointing at COVID being a synthetic virus, where it may have originated from and why it spread out of Wuhan. I reveal to you the details of Project CHIMERICA and who is behind it. Second in new series, webinar 12, Earthshift and COVID-19, the Catalyst of Change, was released just recently on May 17th. This webinar is your compass to the unfolding Earthshift and events that catalyze it. Why are we in the midst of major shifts? How catalysts and black swan events work to expedite the Earthshift? How incremental timeline shifts create a different reality. This is the most comprehensive and future-oriented webinar of Series 3, and it includes 17 new trends I've identified and 13 new multidimensional futurist predictions by Lada. Third in Series 3, coming in the end of May, webinar 13, Global Economy, 4D Shift After Isolation. We talk about economy and international trade, why the replacement of petrodollar is happening so slowly, and what the future holds. We discuss the real economic situations of China, USA, Russia, UK, Europe, Australia, Canada, Asia, and Latin America, and how the current crisis is catalyzing the shift to a different economic, financial, and trade model. And finally in this series, coming in June, date to be decided, webinar 14, From Pisces to the Aquarian Age, 2020 through 2026 timeline predictions. We talk about the galactic dawn and the dawn of the age of Aquarius, how Neptune, Saturn, and period 9 shift will change the world. This webinar focuses on unseen forces that facilitate and catalyze the Great Earth shift, and on something highly requested by my clients, the timing of changes. I predict and explain from a higher dimensional perspective why these changes are necessary and when and how they may be occurring. Also, I will discuss and emphasize for you how to prepare to these changes. All webinars are available at lada.com. Click on links located in the description box and comment section below this video, or go directly to lada.com and click on webinars tab on top. Also to mention, exclusive offer for all Series 3 participants. Limited time, biggest ever discount on Big Picture Series 1 and 2. Buy one or more Series 3 webinars and get 50 to 60% off on prior series. Includes all past bestsellers, The Future of Money, The Putin Enigma, Inverted Collapse, Period 8 predictions, plus all Forbidden History webinars. These are all Big Picture foundational webinars, and they really are a great prerequisite to understand the current series. After purchase, you'll find private sale links at the bottom of your webinar page. Hope you enjoy my new webinar series and see you soon.